Making a video. You know, off to work I go. But I have roses. Yay! It's hardly what they used to be, but they'll come back now that I've secured the area from the beasties. So lots of stuff growing. Not many flowers yet, but you know, I'm getting there. Anyway, cold. A couple of things. Let's see if I can remember them. You know, the irises are starting to come up. The little ones. Yeah, it's very nice. Better not rain too much. Sounds like it's getting heavier. Anyway, all right. So there was a comment on a video I wanted to respond to. So it was just, you know, somebody pointed out on my last video that oil has no intrinsic value. Exactly, jackass. I deleted the comment. This is just so stupid. I said in the video, right? I mean, if you really listen to these videos, I mean, I know it's not my video isn't perfectly articulate, but I mean, it's close enough. You know, I mean, this stuff is in there if you look for it. And the fact that, hey, it really is raining. Shit. The point is there is nothing else of intrinsic value, so I can't do a metaphor to something else of intrinsic value. There's nothing else of intrinsic value but suffering. Torturing a sentient is the only real bad thing in the universe. So I'm trying to explain a commodity, and there's no comparison commodity. There's no other thing in the universe of intrinsic value. I mean, unless I create an alien race and use that as a metaphor, but then I'm back in the same place I am using animals. So what's the point? So there's nothing in our common world that duplicates the reality of sentient feelings. So there's nothing in our language, there's no practice where we make comparisons between intrinsically valuable things, because there's only one intrinsically valuable thing: the welfare of conscious organisms. Shit. But to have some asshole tell me oil doesn't have any intrinsic value when I said that in the video, I mean, fuck. That's why comments are totally, I mean, I wish they'd let you block people. I mean, I just don't know why they took away the block function. Because now it's just the hide from yourself function. So what the fuck's the point of that? So anyway. So, I mean, either disable all comments or none, but they don't give you any options here. So anyway. So then I was watching some more of the Trick Vic bullshit. And I guess Vic is trying to come up, like his argument is that somehow this virtue ethics thing is the superior thing. So it's all about your motive, and you don't have to necessarily have an informed motive. So I guess I would argue that virtue ethics would be fine if people's virtue ethics was based on them being informed. But if they're allowed to have good intentions and completely idiotic knowledge of reality and real risk, then virtue doesn't mean anything. Much like procreators. I mean, if a procreator is allowed to ignore genetic defects, ignore practical reality, you know, the risks innate in reproduction, if they are allowed to not even consider, not even imagine in their head before they have a child how their child might die. So if they're allowed to have virtue ethics that are ignorant ethics, that doesn't work. Now, if I argue that you have virtue ethics that are entirely informed, that is, you have weighed every single risk, and you have acknowledged and dealt with those risks, not just ignored them, well, then virtue ethics might work. But then virtue ethics will be exactly the ethics I'm talking about, which is consequential ethics, or in the end, this is how much stuff suffered, this is how much stuff didn't suffer, this is what you got, and you rate the game based on what goals were scored. I mean, this idea of judging, a baseball team based on, how hard they tried, or what their intentions were, is just bullshit. In the end, it's going to matter how many fucking home runs were, how many runs were scored, and it ain't going to have anything to do with this virtue crap. Trying, as Yoda would say, there is no fucking try. There's do or do not do. So you either do good in the world or you don't, and it really doesn't matter what your fucking intentions are. It's nice to have good intentions. I'm all for good intentions, alright? But it's not going to win the game. You have to have more than fucking intentions. You have to have a good model of the game you're playing if you're going to be likely to score goals. You've got to know how to play the game to win the game. Alright? Somebody shows up and they don't know how to play the game. I don't think they're going to be beating too many professional teams, are they? No, they're not going to win anything. Because skill is associated with knowledge of what it is, the dynamics of what you're doing. Even great runners now have to have at least trainers who know a great deal of physics, know a great deal about efficiencies that can be gained, little tiny efficiencies, things that'll take one step, things that just save one step out of 100,000, because that's the difference between winning and losing, and the difference between doing it right and doing it wrong is getting as close as you can to consequences, getting the consequences to turn out the way you intend. That's all there is. That's winning. So clearly you have to have a virtue ethic, in the sense that built into it has to be some understanding of the goal, and not even that they break. Vic Mackey's exact quote, something like, right and wrong are relative. I mean, yeah, no, you can't. Yeah, good and bad are relative. No, I'm sorry, they're not. There's no relativity that can unravel the good into the bad and the bad into the good, by definition, especially intrinsic ones. So that's just rubbish. These people want to, it means on what your, it depends on what your definition of bad is. Fuck you. Now we know what bad is and we know what good is. We know what a positive number is and a negative number. And that's what it's about. It keeps talking about a volume dial that doesn't have any plus or minus on it. That doesn't have any incremental plus or minus gradations. What the fuck dial would that be? A jerk-off dial. That's not a dial. That's a wank. It has nothing to do with reality, for sure. So yeah, I'm still only like half an hour into that 3 hours. I mean, it's just so, these tedious thought experiments about pedophiles jerking off on babies, and you're just like, why the fuck am I listening to this shit? Because he wants to do some kind of I gotcha. Because yes, technically it's okay to do something disgusting in an isolated circumstance where nothing gets hurt. Yeah, it's true. But it isn't true in a sense anyway, because part of the definition of value is having some sort of redeeming purpose. So to sit there and say that you're entitled because you exist, so I have some exploitinous abusive desire, and that somehow my exploitinous abusive desire somehow needs to be gratified. It doesn't. It doesn't need to exist. So the simple solution to your need to jizz on a baby would be to blow your brain out, because it's a piece of shit. So it's even easier than performing the act on the unawares victim. And so you have to first justify the existence of something that wishes to exploit something else for its gratification. You have to first defend the necessity of something in that shape existing, in that configuration. So while I concede it's of minor consequence in the scheme of things, these thought experiments you could pile up end to end and you wouldn't find enough harm in them to replace one concentration camp victim. So these are minor, on the fencey bullshit thought experiments that have no real social consequence or no meaningful world consequence or no meaningful universal consequence. This is arguing over atoms on a penny. It's just for the sake of, hey, I'm going to destroy your entire philosophy by proving that you on 1/10 of a penny allowed ugly. Wow, gee, I allowed something ugly to happen as a replacement for torture. Gee, I think that's a pretty good fucking exchange. Ugly for torture. Yeah, good deal. I'll take it every day. Yeah, every day I can prevent torture by accepting some ugly. Yeah, I'll take it. But anyway, so yeah, it's this idea that value is not something real in the world that we can discover. Again, Vic Mackey always talks about how you can't prove it, you can't make an argument. I haven't heard the argument yet that explains how it's not something to be discovered. It's not in there already. We show up, we discover it. If we were non-sentient and the animals were sentient, we showed up on Earth, we'd have a logical obligation to recognize they're sentient. It's a fact. We'd have an obligation to acknowledge that they have a welfare stake, that there's a difference between nail in their eye and a cupcake and all that bullshit, and the value game would still be engaged. It would still be just as real as a fact. So if we were intelligent beings, Spockian, we wouldn't just go off and twiddle our thumbs or play three-dimensional chess if we knew there was a bunch of value exchanges taking place among ignorant animals and that they had no management system that was respecting their sentience. They were being managed by a cruel mechanism, not an intelligent mechanism, and that there's every reason to believe there's all kinds of necessity that intelligence be applied to their organization to maximize, to improve the carnage. That's why we make rules in games. I keep you metaphor in games, but in games that show it so clearly. Why do we make rules? To prevent paralyzation, to prevent insidious harm, to prevent the game costing more than it should, to make the game as cheap as possible. That's why we make rules. Also fairness and that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying a lot of the rules of the game, like you can't just stab the fucker, are there because if you don't have rules, then you have the Colosseum, and the Colosseum is stupid. Yeah, it's dumb sport. It's wasteful sport. If you have to have a sport to watch, yeah, better to have one organized by rules that prevent broken legs and decapitation and nails being thrown in people's eyes. So anyway, and that's all this is about. And I can't find any compelling reason to believe, any reason to believe at all that these idiots think we have some sort of intuitive knowledge, or that we're born with some sort of knowledge of right and wrong, given to us by a DNA molecule that has constructed us to be a racist, genetic racist at minimum, and certainly a